Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here today with sharp-eyed Bruce McCurdy. Welcome, Bruce.
Hey, David.
How are you today?
Sharp-eyed.
As always.
And bushy-tailed or something like that.
Bruce, we're doing the annual Oiler player ratings, and today we're looking at Adam Larsson, and we're going to do our keep, hold, or fold. What should the Oilers do with Adam Larsson? Keep, hold, or fold? So, Bruce, let's start out with some good things about Adam Larsson. What's your good thing about this player?
My good thing as an old goalie who doesn't like marauding forwards on the other team is I love Adam Larsson's style of game. The greasy AF defender that has a multitude of nefarious and also occasionally skillful ways of separating guys from the puck. He's not above greasing it up and playing he's a mean guy to play against. Like he'd be no fun to play against. And he's an experienced and accomplished defensive player. And I like that about Adam Larsson.
Bruce, I like his smarts.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a smart hockey player. And even though he hasn't put up a lot of points in his NHL career, and is he going to do it? No. Do I think he's got the smarts to do it? Yes. Do I think he's likely to do it? No. But, I do see that kind of savvy on the offensive zone. He's the one guy who kind of moves into the play well, looks to make a pass, can make a pass, makes good offensive plays now and then in the offensive end. He makes good passes now and then out of the defensive zone. He's got some skill, and he's got a really good head on his shoulders in terms of looking at the ice and making a play. So that's what I like about him. What's your negative about Adam Larsson?
Well, I think he had struggles physically this year. There was reports of him having a creaky back, and there were some nights where it certainly looked like he was having his struggles, and his game fell off, and he was doing okay with Oscar Klefbom, and then when Oscar got hurt, he was really swimming for a while, and the Oilers were getting killed, and he was getting killed. A lot of it was with Caleb Jones, a very inexperienced guy who got thrust into top 4 minutes in the best Oilers tradition. But I just don't think he was ever on top of his game in this particular year. It was definitely the worst of the 3 years that he's been in Edmonton.
Yeah, he looked. My bad thing is, Bruce, I think, is his skating. I think it's the one thing that really holds Larsson back as a player. He's just not fleet of foot. Mm-hmm. Somewhat agile, I guess, but he's not fast in any way. He never moves fast out there. He looks slow. He's a below-average NHL skater, I think. And it's in today's game, like when they made the trade, this was Chiarelli's bet on heavy hockey, right?
Right.
Bring in all these big guys, including Larsson, and in that style of game, Larsson had really learned it under Scott Stevens. He's a vicious defenseman who lays on the stick, cross checks, tough guy. He can play that heavy hockey game, but the NHL has really gravitated away from that, and he's becoming, a bit of a dinosaur. If he can't step it up, if this trend continues, this is a problem for the Oilers. He's got 2 more years on his deal. He was not good in a top 4 role last year. Mm-hmm. League scoring chances against too high a rate. Got beat too often. Man, I talked about him being smart on the attack. I do think he is smart on the attack, but he seemed to be over aggressive on defense a lot of the time, and getting beat out of the corner, in the corner when he shouldn't be there, pinching when he shouldn't be pinching. He was making bad decisions on defense. And I think he was trying to force things almost. I don't know if that was Hitchcock's style, because it became worse under Hitchcock than it ever was under McClellan. And maybe that was the instruction, but I don't know. I just think he needs to kind of almost amp down the defensive aggressiveness in terms of decision making and risk taking. Play a more solid, smart game positionally on the defensive end, and I think he skates well enough to continue to be a top 4 D-man in the NHL. but he's not a strong one at this point, and the Oilers need him to be at least above average, and he wasn't that this past year. What's your number?
Definitely not. My number has to do with the goals for and against. When Larsson was on the ice, and this is a player that's traditionally been a strong. I'll start with traditional plus minus, just because it's a canary in the coal mine. Plus 15 is last year in Jersey. Plus 21 is first year in Edmonton. Plus 10 last year. Minus 28 this year.
Oh,
just fell off a cliff. And to break that down just to 5-on-5 goals, because he was actually got a few pluses on empty net goals where he was out at the end of the game defending a lead. At 5-on-5, the Oilers scored 44 goals with Larsson on the ice and allowed 76 for a net difference of minus 32. And that includes losing the battle against elite opposition 23-17, getting absolutely crushed by middle competition 29-10, and even losing the battle against the bottom end players on the other team 24 against 17-4. It's just like he had what I call the minus touch, where he was out there, and I mean, some of it was the goalies weren't making saves on his watch. I mean, there was stuff happening. It's obviously not
yeah, but a
all
lot was
one
his fault
player,
too.
but but he struggled, and I think he really struggled with the crisis of confidence partway through the year, and he went into what you call rightly a defensive slump.
He sure did, and he had been coming off kind of an unbelievable world championship with he was paired with Larsson. He was paired with a really great puck mover, and this is what Adam Larsson needs. And we were hoping it would be Oscar Klefbom, but Oscar Klefbom also plateaued this year and didn't have a strong year. They weren't strong even when they were together. They weren't particularly strong. And then when Klefbom was out, Caleb Jones wasn't much better, and Darnell Nurse didn't work at all with Larsson either. I mean, I think if he could ride shotgun to that kind of really strong puck mover like Ekman Larsson, and maybe Caleb Jones, once he settles down as an NHL player, might be a solid pairing for Adam Larsson, because Caleb Jones can really, really skate, and he can really move the puck. He's better, I think, than he's kind of in the Nurse style, Caleb Jones, in terms of better skating with the puck than necessarily passing it. But Caleb Jones can also really pass it. He's not a bad passer. I mean, I think Caleb Jones actually he reminds me more of Andre Sekera than he does of Darnell Nurse. So that's the kind of player that might team up well with Adam Larsson down the road. So not yet. And Larsson. So my number, Bruce, is 1933. So he was even strength minutes for Adam Larsson, 1933 per game, 19 minutes and 33 seconds he averaged, which was the second highest number for a defenseman on the Oilers after Darnell Nurse at 2003. Oscar Klefbom was a second behind Larsson at 1932. So this just shows how much the Oilers in terms of right shot demon, they don't have anyone else who has a hope of getting by in the top four. Matt Benning isn't there. And so then they slot in Chris Russell, but they're just counting on Larsson in that role. He's their only hope. And this is why they paid so much to get him. And this is why my vote for, I'll go first in terms of keep, hold or fold is a definite keep. I mean, there's talk of, I think Mark Spector's written about trading him to Toronto. Who are you going to play? Who's going to be on your right side in your top four if you trade Adam Larsson?
Chris Russell and Caleb Jones?
Evan Bouchard?
Oh, wow.
Joel Persson? I mean, who are you going to play? This is, it's like, what? Seriously, you're going to trade Adam Larsson? Like, I mean, I don't see it. So keep. What about you, man?
I'm in the keep camp too, and because I think at this point you'd be probably selling a little bit low based on his most recent season. Unless there's some deal where another righty defenseman comes back, but I don't see that as very likely to happen. So, and I want to keep my greasy defenseman, top four defenseman, in front of my goalie. So,
by the end of the year, I could see Caleb Jones and Adam Larsson being a viable partnership. The Oilers, they might have a tough decision here between Oscar Clefbaum and Darnell Nurse, quite frankly, Bruce. Like if they want to bring in a really good top 4 right side guy, I mean, that's where I think there's more wiggle room in terms of moving someone. But can Clefbaum or Nurse play the right side? I mean, can you move Nurse over? And maybe you could. Maybe that's the play, and you move Larsson then. But that seems like a stretch. We've not seen any indication that that would work. So, keeper for me, definite keeper. All right. Thanks for talking, Bruce.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.